Hi, grade 12s. Welcome back to our first additional language revision series. This is the last lesson. Now, in this lesson, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you questions that you must expect tomorrow. I'm going to give you also tips on how to maneuver and to respond to questions based on your set genres. I must admit that I'm not in a position to revise all the genres. We know that paper 2 includes various genres that we do at our respective schools, but what I'm going to share with you at the moment, these are the skills that are going to now assist you across all the genres. It doesn't mean if I don't make an example using your genre, the skills that I'm going to, if not the nuggets that I'm sharing with you now, are not applicable for you. But also remember, it's not all about understanding the set genres, but after establishing understanding, it is important now to sharpen the skill on how to approach literature questions, and most importantly, how to maneuver around tomorrow's questions and how to answer questions based on literature. Now, we are going to have contextual questions, those which are based on a particular context or situation, because you will be given extracts. For example, those who are doing short stories, you are going to be given passages. Those who are doing a novel, you'll be given extract A and extract B. And then we are also going to have poems. So the question can include 1 or 2 or 3 texts. Okay, but it's not 3 texts in this case, it's only 2 texts. Please bear in mind that you are writing out of 70 and you are only going to respond to the genres that you have done at your respective schools. Work out the text fits into the novel, drama, short story. Again, when you get that paper tomorrow, just concentrate on the genres that you are doing at your respective school. Don't deviate from that which your good teachers have taught you. Just concentrate on the genres that you have done it at your school. Not all the questions will relate directly to the text. For some, you will need to show that you know the whole novel, drama, short story, or poem. Extracts in literature cannot be used as a comprehensive passage. Not all the answers will be derived from the passage. But this is what I want you to do tomorrow. When you get your extract, right, or you get your passage for short stories, don't be in a hurry to go to answer questions. What you need to do when you get an extract, answer these 3 questions. Pardon me, let me just use a colorful one. Yes. To say, 1, what is the setting in that extract? Right, so that you know where the plot is. Quickly, just write with a pen or pencil on your question paper. What is the setting? And then after that, who is involved here? For those who are doing My Children, My Africa, it will be easy because the characters are already there. Who is involved? And then you say, what is happening? Remind yourself what is happening, because it will give you a perspective of what is the extract all about. 80%, if not 70% of the questions will be based on an extract, but you'll be given higher order, or you should expect higher order questions that which are not based on the extract, but exactly what you have stated here, that are based on the general, if not a comprehensive understanding of your short story, a comprehensive idea or general understanding of your novel, and so forth. So when you get your extracts or your passages tomorrow, do these things at this 3-step setting. Who is involved? It means the characters, especially those who are doing novels. Characters, what is happening, and then possibly what can be the mood. You'll realize that if you can answer this after reading the extract, already you've got 40% of the responses, because you are going to get questions around setting. You are going to get questions that are based on the characters that are in that passage or in that extract, and then you are going to get questions around tone, the tone that is used by the characters in that particular extract. So please do this to ensure that or to certify that you understand the extract before you can go to the questions, because if you rush to the questions without understanding the extract, you are going to miss a lot of information, and chances are high that you are even going to misinterpret the questions, because you won't have the relevant information to use to substantiate your responses. Now let me take you further to other concepts that you must expect tomorrow, right? And you must also expect questions centered around setting. Remember, setting is a place where action takes place. That is why I am going to re-emphasize, if not reinforce, the idea that when you read the passage or the extract tomorrow based on your short story whatsoever, just make a note to say, oh, Kanamo, this is where the characters were at this place doing this, do that, so that when you get to such questions, you've got the correct responses. Now, how are you going to answer questions based on the setting? Normally, examiners say describe the setting. They don't say mention the setting. So when you describe the setting, what are we looking for? We are looking for time and place. We are looking for time and place. Remember, we want to collect those 2 marks, right? So in your response, make sure that you make a mention of time and place. For an example, my children, my Africa, we can say the setting is at Zolile High School. You get a mark for mentioning Zolile High School. And then during the apartheid era, you see what you have done now? You have provided the description of what? Time during the apartheid era. Another example, let us borrow an example from poetry. On the grasshopper and cricket, that which we have done. Line 4, it says, from hash to hash about the new moon meet. The setting here is outside because the hashes are at the short trees. Outside, you get a mark for saying outside. Then you say during a sunny day. So during a sunny day provides us what? With time. So tomorrow, please make sure that when you are going to come across questions based on setting. Make sure that you give us a place as well as time to collect the 2 marks. Please, you are going to expect questions around the figures of speech, and this question cuts across all the genres. Don't say it's only for poetry. Figures of speech are there across all the genres. Be it you are doing a drama, you are doing short stories, you are doing a novel, you must expect questions around figures of speech. However, I did upload a very detailed lesson on the effectiveness and the figures of speech. Please make sure that you understand them. What I normally do is I simplify them to say, ask yourself, if the examiner say identify the figure of speech used in the particular line, ask yourself, does it compare? If it compares, then when you have to explain the effectiveness, you just have to state the 2 things that are being compared and the significance of why they are being compared. Or arguably, does it show sound device? If it's a sound device, what effect does the sound play on that a particular line? Or does it show contradictions such as irony? And I also want to speak about, on the figures of speech, I want to speak about the questions around irony. A lot of candidates don't score or do well when it comes to unpacking the question of irony. Why is it ironic? Explain why is it ironic. It is because at the final year marking, we call it 2 or nothing. What do you mean by 2 or nothing? It means that both sides must be present in your answer. What do I mean? Remember, irony is when you say something, but you also mean what? The opposite. So we need both positive and what? Negative. Let me make an example with Cry the Beloved Country. One can say, why do we say Arthur Jarvis' death is ironic? First and foremost, remember, when you think of irony tomorrow, remember just these 2 concepts. I want to see positive versus negative. The positive is that Arthur Jarvis fought for black lives through writing his manuscript about the truth about native crime. He also had a African Boys Club, that which was for young black boys. However, now once you have conjunctions such as but and however, what am I introducing? I'm introducing the negative side. So the negative side is going to be, however, he was unfortunately murdered by what? The very same black people that he was fighting for. So that means it makes his death to be how? Ironic. Another example that we can use, maybe let me borrow an example from my children, my Africa. Tammy says that the statues of people like Nelson Mandela will be broken down very fast, and then Nelson Mandela, the statue was erected to honor his name, which is positive. The irony part is that, however, this was done during the period when he was in jail. So he cannot be honored whilst he was in jail. So every time when you think of irony tomorrow, think of we want the positive and the negative. Show us the positive and the negative. Start with the positive and then use that conjunction but or however to introduce the negative, so that now we can see how ironic the statement should be. Bear in mind that we call it a true or nothing question. And then grade 12s, please, you are going to also expect questions around tone. Tone, it means the manner in which the character is saying out the word, the manner in which the character is communicating. And you can only successfully answer this question of tone if you have read your passage, if you have read your extract, to say this is what is happening. The circumstances or the condition or the events that are unfolding must match the tone that is being used by the speaker. In a poem, if for an example we have for an example sonnet 7.3, where, or maybe let me not use sonnet 7.3. Let me say, for an example, let me just make this cliche example first. A tone must be appropriate. The question is, how do you then see a tone? A tone, you check the words of the character and the manner in which they are communicating those words. And every time when examiners ask you to outline or identify a tone used in a particular line, expect the following up question to be what? Is the tone appropriate? So it means the tone must suit the context. The tone must suit the event. The tone must suit what? The circumstances. Remember, the tone is how, the manner in which the speaker or the character is saying out the words. If I'm shouting at you, I cannot be using a pleasant tone. I'm furious, I'm angry at you, right? So therefore I'm going to use a sharp tone. And if you say that is the tone appropriate, yes, the tone is appropriate because I am angry at you, I'm shouting at you, I'm angry at you, hence I'm using a sharp tone. So you see, that is how you justify the use of what? The use of tone. So you should expect the questions of tone across all the genres tomorrow. And please use the correct adjective to describe a tone. And then true or false question, 2 marks. Why is the following statement true or false? Determine the focus point of the statement to be able to tell what is true or what is false. At times, examiners will give you a false statement, maybe that deviates from the events of the or that transpired in a particular genre. For an example, let's make a quick example. A statement maybe from the novel, you say Absalom is a well-behaved young gentleman, and then you have to justify why the statement is false. It means you must come up with evidence. You are not going to use your opinion. You use evidence. And where is your evidence? The events that transpired in the novel. So I would use evidence such as, no, Absalom is not a well-behaved boy because he went to Johannesburg in search for his aunt. However, he turned to crime and he also murdered Arthur Jarvis. So the two, there's no way that we can conclude to say that he is what? A well-behaved boy. What have I used? I've used evidence from the plot itself to support such responses. And then going back to the question of figures of speech, as 3 marks, you identify and explain. You get 1 mark for mentioning the figure of speech and what does it mean. For an example, we've got an example of a simile in My Children, My Africa, where Mr. M says that his heart jumps out and savages him like a wild beast. So we can say the figure of speech there is a simile because it is the statement uses the word like, and then we get a mark for that. And then the effectiveness is that he compares the intense emotions in his heart to the violent behavior of a wild animal. And then this further cements that his feelings about apartheid and its effect on his learners is actually heartbreaking. So you see what I've done. I've checked the 2 things that are being compared here, and the reason for their comparison is the similarity between the 2. So please tomorrow do just these 2 questions based on figures of speech across all the genres. And now we should also expect questions around characterization, which normally is 2 marks. Explain what the extract reveals about the character. For an example, when you read the novel Cry the Beloved Country, where Mrs. Kumalo is offering her savings to Mr. Kumalo to travel to Johannesburg, what does that show about Mrs. Kumalo's character? Is that she is very considerate, and then these are 2 marks question. It means that you'll have to give a reason why you say she's considerate. So it's all about coming up with the correct adjective. She's very considerate because that money was saved for her to get a new stove, but she emptied all her savings in order to aid Reverend Stephen Kumalo to do what? To travel to Johannesburg. So for you to describe character and characterization, it depends on the nature of the character and how the character reacts towards particular events. What does it reveal about them? Is that person selfish? Is that person sarcastic? Is that person loving? Is that person caring? And once you are able to note that person is loving, that person is sarcastic, that person is caring, you should be again in a position to use evidence from the set genres to substantiate your answer. And then for those who of you who are doing My Children, My Africa, that which is drama, please tomorrow expect questions around stage direction and learn to do justice to that question. Mostly learners don't do justice to this question because your stage directions never match what is being or the events that are transpiring. So let me just unpack this for you. What is that you need to look out for when you answer or respond to questions based on stage direction? Normally it's 3 marks. So make sure that your answer has your answer must have tone. How does the character say it? Emotion words, emotions. Is it harshly, softly, to speak softly, to speak with a low voice, to speak with a high-pitched voice? And then the mood. How does the character feel, right? Is the character angry? Is the character happy? And then ultimately now you have to come up with what? Action. What must the character do? What it do? And then action, normally you describe it using body language. You are going to describe it using body language. It might be the gestures of hands, the eyes, the face. He should bang with his fists is an action on the table action because he is angry. What we have feeling with resentment, then resentment we have what? Tone. So tomorrow please ensure that when you get this question of stage direction, you do justice to it, whereby now you mention tone, mood and action. Let us take another example to strengthen our understanding here. On My Children, My Africa, Act 2, Scene 5, Isabella says goodbye to Mr. M at top of the Western Pass, the place where Mr. M was inspired to become a teacher. What would you instruct Isabella to do if you were the stage director? I would say, firstly, the emotion. I would ask her to cry. And then the action, she will kneel down and look at the sky. Why is it? Because the tone, she's doing all of that because she is miserable or sympathetic. You get me? So all these things must suit the context of your the events that are happening. It can't be that you are reading a set scene and then all of a sudden you say, no, the character must shout and jump up and round and smile and be happy. The gestures and whatever that you have just explained do not even deviate from what is happening. So please ensure that you do justice to this question. Remember, you must explain having tone, mood, action. He should with tone, normally body language, action, body language, and then state the feeling or the emotions of the character at that particular time, and ultimately the tone. That is how you successfully answer questions based on stage direction. And another question that you must expect tomorrow is the character state of mind. 2 or 3 marks depending on how the question will be asked. This question must be addressed by using descriptive words. Remember, descriptive words, we call them adjectives, to identify the state of mind, and then moving on to elaborate on what the character's state of mind is that way. The state of mind is usually linked to the character's or the speaker's feelings. So just read the events that are used there in the extract and then possibly come up with what is that the character is feeling and then use that to describe the character's state of mind. Let us make an example with the novel. Let's say, for example, during the court proceedings, Absalom kept on mentioning when he was divulging information and confessing what happened during the murder of Arthur Jarvis. He kept on mentioning the fact that he did not mean to kill Arthur Jarvis. He shot him out of fear. So by virtue of him confessing, I can say that the state of mind, one, he can be scared and also remorseful. Why do we say scared or remorseful? Because it clearly shows that even though he carried the revolver, he did not mean to kill Arthur Jarvis, and he did that out of fear, right? Out of fear. So please, when you answer questions of state of mind, think of the character's emotions or feelings and why are they feeling the way that they are feeling. What events or what moments or situation or circumstances led them to feel that way. That's how you answer questions on a state of mind. We already done the question of irony. I did explain that it's true or nothing. Now, the most important question, grade 12 tomorrow, is questions around the theme. Theme are the central, if not main ideas. Main ideas. It might be in a novel, in a short story, in a poem. When you are asked to discuss the theme tomorrow, you cannot discuss a theme in one sentence. There's no way that you can answer higher order questions such as discursive questions in only a single sentence. Learn to go all out. Leave no stone unturned. I normally say that to play safe, if not to err on the side of caution, have 3 facts for 3 marks. And also be careful. At times, examiners would say, discuss a theme based on the general understanding of the novel. At times they say discuss the theme evident in the extract. It means that you're only going to concentrate or draw your answers only on the events that transpired in that particular passage or in that particular extract. You don't need to go beyond. You can only go beyond if the theme is not centered or rooted in the extract that is used tomorrow. Then you can use other general information in the in your general, like your short story or your novel, that is outside the extract. But if it says in the extract, please ensure that you root your answer in the extract. And please, in literature, if you want to win, do not say anything that you don't have evidence of, because whatever statements that you are going to say, back them up with evidence. And where is your evidence? Events that transpired in your story, events that transpired in the poem, events that transpired in the short story or the whatever genre that you are doing at your respective schools, and learn to fully substantiate your answers. Go all out in terms of writing. You, like I've said, you can't answer a higher order question with one sentence. Go all out in your responses. So you are going to discuss themes tomorrow. Expect such questions. And then of course you are going to have multiple choice where you are going to match the columns. For you to get this one right, please know all your characters. Don't only concentrate on the main characters like your round characters and forget about your flat characters. Know all the characters, because especially those who are doing novel, you are going to get that match column A and B. That will also be a mixture of both around which are the main characters as well as flat characters, and these are collectible marks. And then don't predict which poems and short story will be examined. Know all of them, please. Don't guess and pray that maybe a certain poem will come out. Please err on the side of caution and be fully prepared. Know all of them. And then diction with poetry is just nothing but the choice of words. I believe that I have done justice, and I've tried by all means to assist. And once more, good luck. Do your best. God will do your rest. But what is important, learn and remember this tomorrow. Answer in full. Check mark allocation. When you are asked to discuss in full. Do justice to questions of tone, questions of figures of speech, questions on stage direction, questions on state of mind, questions on discussion of themes. Be careful. Practice question interpretation, whether the theme is centered in the extract or is it the theme in the general understanding of the storyline. Thank you.